So I was in the shower, I was cleaning my ass and making all sure it's all sparkly, spanky clean.
I'm not the funny one, I'm the pretty one.
Cock shots. I just checked myself out.
Candles, music, wine, and then lube up and get on top.
The glory hole's like a dick theater. I've imagined your family.
Which means your pants had better come off. Mama needs playtime. I think
We're not sluts.
we just love love.
Join us on The Wet Coast, a podcast about sexuality and ethical non-monogamy of every variety. We talk polyamory and swinging, monogamish and open relationships, from dirty, dirty sex to heartbreak and everything in between. We share our personal experiences and philosophy, observations and theories, what works for us, and where we fucked it right up. This isn't your average couple's Explanabrag podcast, though we definitely do a little of that. We share our adventures in open with a unique, funny, feminist, and Canadian approach. Come get wet with us on The Wet Coast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. All of our podcast listeners out there, welcome back for another week.
Hello.
Yes, this is Angela.
And this is Bradford.
Yes, you're listening to us here again on By the By.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have been traveling a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we talk about travels, though, do we need to talk about any upcoming events?
Let's see. What is today?
The first thing I think is April 18th. Thursday is the next club fee.
Oh,
so
that's right.
that's
The Thursday before Easter.
Yes, it's the Easter Thursday, so it's the women's only play party at our secret spot. So that'll be fun. It'll be a good way to kick off the long holiday weekend.
Yeah. So for those in the States, we get Friday and Monday off.
I know, it's exciting.
Great. A 4-day weekend. Woo!
Yes.
I mean, I don't know why I'm complaining. I'm on vacation right now, but anyway. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable here. Let's see, what else do we have? We have, then May 10th, we have our meet and greet before Pendulum 10.
Yes.
That's at a bar that is TBD.
Yes, and we're going to have some other podcasters with us.
Yes.
The Bed Hoppers from the UK will be joining us.
Yep.
And
C
yes.
from Swinging Down Under. Mm-hmm. And then A Slut is coming over from New Zealand.
Yes.
I can't say it, but yeah.
No.
I'm trying.
I was going to say, you haven't even perfected the Australian accent, much less be working on the Kiwi accent.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll have a variety of podcasters there, and we're going to have a little meet and mingle, meet and greet kind of thing before going over for Pendulum 10.
Woohoo.
Which is going to be awesomely fun.
It's going to be
Yes.
intense.
Oh, that's so good.
I think, thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, anything else we have going on?
I think those are the big things for the next month anyway.
Yeah. We are currently in a random hotel room.
Yes. In LA.
In LA.
Yep.
Awaiting our flight.
Yes.
So we had a 13-hour layover.
14-hour layover.
And so we decided to get a hotel room just to kind of be lazy, and it's been great.
Yeah, get away from the airport hubbub, and
Yeah.
even a lounge for that long is exhausting. So
Yes.
yeah, we decided to do one of the little day hotel rentals and just hang out here for a little while.
It's been all right.
Yeah, it has been.
So
So if we sound a little chill and relaxed, that's probably
why. We don't have all of our gear up. We're recording on a phone.
Yeah.
Dum dum dum.
Hopefully it's acceptable.
Yeah. And if it's not,
Too bad.
tune in next week.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about our travels and some of our adventures.
Okie dokie.
Because we've been traveling mostly separately for a bit.
Yep.
And you can't be yawning already.
I am. I'm barely keeping it together.
So we've had some separate adventures. We've had some together adventures.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay.
I think let's start off with yours because I have not.
Mine's
really...
been boring, except for one really highlight. I was gonna say my first week was boring because I went to Switzerland and was in Switzerland for work, and then so blah blah blah. Nobody cares about that.
No.
But then I went to London, and who was there but the bed hoppers? Shocker. So I got off the plane, and Mr. H was there waiting for me, and it was great. And it was just so great to see him. It was like, oh my gosh, and like hugs and car ride and laughing and goofing around. And we had dinner that night, and so we. It was one of those wonderful things. So Mrs. H had something to do that Friday night, and so he and I went out to dinner, and then started looking at comic books, because as sexy adults do. And it was great.
Wait, not comic books,
graphic novels. Well, we were looking at some comic books as well. So we moved to the graphic novels after we were done with the comics. It was great. And then when she got home, or when we got back to their place, she had gotten home, and we all got together and played Sing Star and drank. And it was the first time that I'd gotten like really drunk in a very long time.
Quick question: what is Sing Star?
Oh, sorry, it's like the PlayStation karaoke game.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but Mr. H likes to sing. And
I
so
had
do I.
not noticed.
I know.
I'm learning new things all the time.
That sounded like sarcasm. So we sang songs, and Mrs. H and I sang songs, and then we FaceTimed you, and then I passed out.
Yes, you were very drunk when we FaceTimed. It was funny because I was traveling at that point. I think I was in the U.S. then, and I was surprised at how late you guys were up, because I was at dinner, and I was like, oh, they're going to go to bed before I get back to the hotel. And I get back to the hotel, and you guys were like, let's FaceTime.
Yeah.
And I'm like, isn't it like 2 or 3 a.m.?
I'm pretty sure she and I were
Yeah.
drunk, and he was happily tipsy.
Yeah. It was cute, though.
Yeah, so
it was good to see you all together.
Yeah. And so the next morning we got up and we took the train into London, and we got an apartment, and we went just kind of tooling around, went to the London Dungeon, which was hilarious. It was just this kind of whirlwind trip through London, and then fast forward to the exciting sexy parts. We got back to the apartment that they had rented, and we broke into our brown chicken brown cow. So it was funny because she had asked the night, we had talked about it, he and I had talked about it at dinner the night before, and then she had asked, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, we do play separately if you guys are interested. She's, yes.
Yeah.
And so we the three of us.
And I do think it's interesting, though, because you even texted me somewhere along the trip and asked, I think before you got to London, and said, is it okay if I play with them? And because we do play separately, I just assumed that you would. Like, to me, there was no question whatsoever. So then you...
Always seems nice to ask, though.
I know. But then you asked, and then I was like, oh, gosh, I should ask if I can play separately.
Oh, that's so funny.
Knowing that it was okay, but still, I was like, but he asked. Are we changing things now?
No, it was more out of politeness than, like you could have said no, but...
And why would I? Especially with the bed hoppers.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
She had a couple of things that were on her bucket list that she wanted to do. One was basically spit roasting.
Okay.
So we did that.
Very nice of you to indulge.
Yeah, it was great. I'm here to help.
Yes.
And it's just funny because...
So which side of the spit roast were you on?
I was on the oral side.
Ah.
Yes.
That's one of your favorites.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was fun. One of the things that I'm always concerned about, of course, is with guys, because Mr. H is straight. And so I wanted to make sure that I'm not making him uncomfortable. And he was like, look, you're not making me uncomfortable. It's okay. It's like, awesome. Woo. And so, it was good.
It is nice, though, when you're playing with someone who is straight, and whether they be male or female, but they're at least comfortable with touch.
Yeah.
And because in a situation where you are playing with multiple people on a bed, there's going to be touching between people.
Incidental touching. Yeah,
it's not going to be sexual in nature, but there will be. And we've been in situations where one of the people is straight and does not want to touch whatsoever.
Yeah.
And that makes it really awkward and
you're focusing
uncomfortable.
on things that you want to be focusing on other things, and it's
Yeah.
So, but it was good. I think I know I had fun, and I think that they had fun as well.
Yeah. Good.
So yeah. So yeah, it was great. It was so much fun. It was great to see them. It was so relaxed and chilled.
Yeah, just a quick weekend through London.
Yeah. I think I did the math. I was in London for like 36, 38 hours. Mm-hmm. So it really was kind of a whirlwind kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was so good to see them. A lot of fun to play with them. And looking forward to seeing them in like a month.
I know, it won't be long now before they come down to Australia.
And that's what we were saying. It was like, well, when we finally parted ways, it's like, goodbye for a month.
I know.
Yeah.
It's pretty kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, so really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay.
Cool.
Yeah. They said they missed you, by the way.
I know. But that's okay. We'll catch up before too long.
In a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's, and then that was basically it. Then I spent a week with my family, which was uneventful and...
Well, so the same weekend that you were in London with the Bedhoppers, that was when I had arrived in the U.S., and I was in North Carolina, back where we used to live once upon a time before we moved down to Australia.
Uh-huh.
And so I had reached out to the first couple that we ever played with, knowing that I was going to be in the area. That area there around Raleigh, they have the house, which was kind of the first swinging venue that we went to with this couple. And I thought it would be interesting to go back. The house had an event going on. I think they do events every other weekend, basically. Mm-hmm. But they had an event that weekend. So I thought it would be fun to go and see how it's changed, assuming it had changed, maybe not. So I guess if it had, how so, what the crowd was like, just have a good time. Because, if I'm there and I need entertainment, I can go out to a bar or something like that. Or I can go to the house and maybe have some fun if I meet somebody. So I reached out to the first couple that we ever played with and asked them if they were interested in going, and they couldn't do it. Schedules didn't work, but I still met up with them later for dinner. But I went to the house by myself. Mm-hmm. So... I was I think this was night number 2 in the States, so I took a little nap beforehand so I could stay awake.
Smart.
Because I wanted to be sure I could stay awake later at night, and I was driving as well. So that's always a fun change to get used to being back in the States, is just driving everywhere, which I like driving, but it also gets exhausting. So went to the house by myself. On that Saturday night, they had I think it was a gigolo party, but the idea was that the women would have the money and then the guys would have to do things and try and get money from the women. And then at like 1 a.m., whoever had the most money would win a prize.
Okay.
I didn't really see a lot of play going on with that. A few people would kind of bring it up, as in, what do I have to do? Or, oh, hey, I should be doing something to get your money. But nobody was really that into it. And I think, and ultimately, I'll talk about how the night went. But by the time 1 a.m. came around, a lot of people had already left.
Gotcha.
So I get the idea of it, but I'm not sure that people were fully engaged in that part of it. And still a fun game, and it is a good icebreaker if people need an icebreaker. So I arrived at the house, and I was not drinking because I was driving. So
right.
I had a couple of Red Bulls with me, also to make sure I
girl.
could stay awake.
That's great.
Which is funny because I don't really drink Red Bull that much, but yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, so I got there, and I got there about 9 o'clock, I would say. So I think it's probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And so I think they opened at 7. And it's still too cold there, so if anybody, you probably don't remember the review that we did of the house and kind of its layout.
Yeah,
but
I remember their layout.
Yeah, so they have a saltwater pool in the back, and it was too cold for the pool to be open.
Oh,
so, and I'm honestly not sure because it didn't go into any of the outdoor rooms. I'm not sure if they're necessarily heated, but I didn't see them being used.
Yeah, my guess is no.
Which makes me think that they're not heated. Because they did have the outdoor room with the S and
the voyeur room
kind
of thing?
Well, it had kind of more of the BDSM stuff in it. And then there was another playroom out there, and then with the bed and everything in it, and then there was the voyeur room that had the camera.
Yeah.
So that has changed.
Oh.
It used to be that there was the switch in the room, and then it would display on the TV outside. So that has changed now. Because I remember the TV being around the pool table, kind of at the pool area outside.
I remember the TV being at the hot tub.
Okay.
The giant spa.
Okay, so there's like a covered porch area right next to the hot tub.
Yeah.
That's where the TV is.
Okay, yeah, that's where I remember.
Okay, I could be misremembering. I wasn't sure. But anyway, so the TV now, there's not a switch in the room. They turn it on if they see something interesting going on in the room.
Oh, okay.
So that's, a bit of a change. And I guess that's a little subjective as to if something's going on or if you alert them like, hey, we're going to be in there. Do you want to turn it on?
Pay attention.
Yeah. So that's a little different. Otherwise, I would say the general layout's the same. There's some more finishing touches and decorations and things like that, but overall very similar. It was really nice to kind of be back there, and like I said, not a lot had changed in the layout. When I got there, there were a handful of people, or a handful of couples, I should say, because there's a fair number of people at that point. And so I started kind of wandering around and just taking a look at the spaces and seeing what had changed and what was different. And started talking to one couple. They were really nice, and he was one of the ones that was asking, what do I need to do to get the tips from you, that kind of thing. And so, so we started kind of chatting, and then I think I went to get a drink, and they went to talk to somebody else, and we kind of got split up after that. I think they were pretty engaged in the other people that they were talking to, which was fine. And there were two I'm going to say they were single ladies. They could have been a couple. I don't know. They were sitting off on one of the couches talking to each other, and they had very closed-off body language, because I was kind of like, oh, maybe I'll go and chat with them. But they were very closed off, so I was like, okay, maybe they're just...
maybe I won't.
Yeah, they're fine. That's all right. So I just kind of wandered around and talked to some other people, and there was another couple I chatted with for quite a while, and we wandered a bit and took a look at what was going on in different areas. And they were fun because they were both kind of introverted, but trying to be extroverted, and so it ends up it was kind of one of those nice times where you can kind of jokingly make fun of a situation. And because like she was saying that she wanted him to be more of a predator, but he's tall and thin. And so she's like, what's a tall, lanky predator? Predators aren't built that way. And so then she's like, maybe a carnivorous giraffe. And so we started calling him the carnivorous giraffe, or the sexy carnivorous giraffe.
That's great.
And it was just, kind of that not making fun of, but
in a sweet, healthy way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just, looking around, and she was interested in one of the guys. So I think this is something that was different for me to get used to as well, is it's also not a huge place, of course. It's okay size, but it's not huge, but there's no rule that couples have to stay together.
Gotcha, okay.
And so she saw a guy walk by, and she was like, I'm interested in him, but I don't know who his partner is. So I was like, all right, well, let's go follow him and find out, And so we did, and there was a whole nother group sitting at a front table, kind of in a dining area. I think there were about 8 people there, and he was part of that group. So we kind of sat down and started talking to them, and joined in their kind of conversation for a little while and figured out who his partner was and everything. But it was interesting because there were a few times where you would see somebody go by and you would think, I'm kind of interested in them, but then not know who their partner was. And you'd have to kind of, and most people were kind of on the way to or from. Some would split up for a little bit and talk. But yeah, so it was interesting to kind of try and figure that out and decide, if I'm interested in one, am I interested in both?
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we ended up, I talked to another couple for a little while. They were really lovely. And at that point, I was kind of like, I'm happy to play with any of these couples because I liked them all. They all seemed nice enough. And I think, would have been fun with any of them. And the sexy carnivorous giraffe couple had wandered away. And so I went to use the restroom, and I caught a glimpse of them in one of the bedrooms. And they were just kind of starting to make out. So I was like, hey, do you mind if I join you? Because she especially, but both of them had expressed interest earlier. So I figured it would be okay. I was like, hey, do you mind if I join you guys? And they were like, yeah, sure. So come on in. And so we went into one of the rooms, and they closed the door and played with them for a little while. I think she got into a not great headspace at one point. So we ended up kind of calling it a bit early and saying, there's clearly something that's not quite right here. I didn't want to push it and be like, let's just get through this to get through it, because that's not really good either.
Agreed.
Especially if I'm not going to be a regular thing, then I don't want anything to happen between them or like, I don't want her to have a bad night. So I was like, if we're not both fully into it, then let's call it. And so we did. And I had a lovely time. It was fun. But at some point, like I said, it kind of, you could see a switch and I could tell she wasn't
That's
really
weird.
quite
What
into it. Yeah, I don't know. Because I don't think she was really drinking that much, but sometimes you get in your own head and it sucks, but it happens.
True.
Yeah. So I went out and kind of wandered around for a bit and looked to see if there was anybody else for round 2. But I think a lot of people, it was interesting because a number of people had left, I'm going to say relatively early. I know there was a group of people that decided to go to a strip club because
that just makes no sense to me.
There were like 6 of them, and on their way out, they did say something to me about, we're going to the titty bar. Do you want to come? And I was like, no.
No? Like, why would I do that? Look where you are.
Yeah.
You're in a titty bar where you are allowed to touch.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I'm going to stay here. So I do know that some people went there, but I think it was just because you could see kind of groupings of people. And so I think, and there was a fair bit of play, I think, earlier in the evening, which is different than some venues because some people tend to wait really late. Yeah. But yeah, so I would say that probably like by 12:30 something, 12:30 for sure, a lot of people had cleared out.
Wow.
But I will say that, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about this part because you're there to meet people, to find play partners, and so you would think that you want to present your best self.
Yeah.
And that you want to look nice, you want to,
I hear a butt coming along.
be a little bit social, and you want to present yourself nicely. But there were some people who, I'm going to say, didn't really make an effort. They came in like track pants, and there is like a dress code on the website, but I also think at times they can be a bit lax on it, which I get because you want to encourage people to come and you want to encourage people to be involved. Yes. But at the same time, make an effort, people. Yeah. So I think that's more on the people that are going, is that if you want to impress someone, you need to at least look decent. And track pants is not the way to do it unless it's a themed party.
Yeah, unless the theme is Velvet Elvis.
Yeah. But like there was one guy that sat
There
was one guy that sat on the couch, which was kind of in the walkway, going from the social bar area down to the playrooms. Mm-hmm. So you have to walk past through that living area and past the couch. And he sat there, I think most of the night, with his arm around his partner. And every time I walked by, sup. That's all he said. And I'm like, do you really think that's going to work? Like, I'm just going to all of a sudden see you sitting there on the couch, and because you say sup to me, I'm going to just all of a sudden want to sleep with you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's how it works.
Totally. It didn't work for him. Oh. I mean, he may have slept with somebody. I don't know. Maybe it's just a numbers thing. Like, if you say that, if you say, shotgun, just say hi to everybody.
If you say sup to everybody, sooner or later someone will bite.
Right, exactly. Maybe that's it. But yeah, so I will say that there were some people that clearly did not make an effort whatsoever, and I was not interested in them because you should at least try to look decent and initiate a conversation or something. I don't know.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
That's what you started responding with. Hey.
Yeah. So overall, it was a really good night. I had fun, and it was nice to go back.
That's good. Yeah, it's on my list. I'd love to go back and see it again.
Yeah, it was good, but it was interesting kind of how the mood shifted as the night went on, and I guess because I'm used to being at OSS until they close.
Yeah.
And there's people there the whole time, and there were still people there. I left at like 1:15, and I think they closed at 2. Mm. And so there were still some people there, but I just was like, I'm done at this point. So I went back to the hotel and got some sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good, though. It was fun, and it was a nice way to spend a night there, especially not really having anything else to do or anybody else to hang out with. So it was a good time to be social and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Ooh. Yeah. I would love to go back to the house. It's still, I have fond memories of it. I don't know if it's that warped memory, but.
Yeah, and there were a few couples that I talked to that were really lovely and very nice and
how many
got
people
along with.
Was it their first time? Was it mostly first time newbies, or was it
Good question.
People who were?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I know that there were the group of 8 people that we sat down and talked with at the dining table. They were regulars. There was another group down in the bar area that they were clearly regulars, or at least everybody knew each other. So I'm
Right,
assuming
yeah.
they were. I don't know. I know that there were a few new people because I did see some tours going on at some point. But I would have said maybe 10%, maybe. I don't know. I really have not a clue.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Just based on the number of
curious.
tours that I saw, I
Yeah.
would have said. There were some, but not a huge number. So again, it's one of those things that you want to encourage people to be involved in the lifestyle.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that if you're going to be out there looking for potential play partners, you should put your best foot forward.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my first weekend.
Yeah.
And then, second weekend away, I flew to Nashville.
Yeah, and I was
met
already
you
in
there.
Nashville. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we had organized. Look, first of all, I think we should apologize to everybody because we didn't put it out there for everybody to know that we were in Nashville. But honestly, I didn't realize the number of people who had actually traveled to Nashville to see us.
Well, especially, so I put it up on kind of the Desire chat.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think I said that I was going to be in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And because this was before we decided on Nashville, we didn't really know what we were going to be doing yet. And there was a couple from Desire that lives within distance of both, kind of. And they said they would travel, and especially when I told them that we were decided on Nashville, they were like, oh yeah, we'll definitely come there and meet up with you guys.
Yeah.
And there was another couple that we've known for
A while,
a long
yeah.
time.
Almost the entire time we've been podcasting.
Yeah, and they were going to come down to Nashville as well. But both of those couples, I would say, were within a few hours.
Yes.
And it was something that I think once you put something up on Twitter, and there were people that were like,
It's only 5 hours away. And
Yeah.
I'm like, only 5 hours
like
away?
5 hours is a decent distance.
That's a long
Yeah.
drive. And yeah, but I feel bad. So sorry for not
Yeah.
putting it on there and letting everybody know we were going to be in town. We'll do better next time.
Yeah.
Uh,
It was a bit last minute. I think we only
It
knew
was.
like
2 weeks.
2 weeks before,
yeah.
maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
and admittedly, we didn't know where we were going to meet at the bar until the day of.
Yeah.
So
That's okay. We'll do better next time.
it was poorly planned.
Yes.
It was well executed, but poorly planned.
There was not a lot of planning that involved.
But we went to this bar. So if you're in Nashville area, we went to Old Glory. Nice little bar. Good
Yeah.
beers, good cocktails. Really interesting space. Big, giant, like tall cylinder of a bar. Anyway, so we met the couples there, and they're both introverts. Both couples are introverts. So
And didn't know each other.
and didn't know each other. So woof, danger. But they got along really well.
Yeah.
I was very proud of both couples for being as talkative and open, So, but it was great. We had a few drinks at Old Glory and just chatted, and then we moved on to Menages.
Yeah, so Menages is, from what we could tell, I think about the only swingers club in Nashville at the moment. There was another one, I think, that was open, closed down, and they said on their website that they're reopening like early 2019, but they weren't open yet. So we did the membership thing for Menages and whatever, and so that way we could all go. And one of the couples had been several years ago, and she warned me because she knows that I don't really like to be around cigarette smoke. I don't always react well to it, and she's also asthmatic, and so she warned me that they had smoking inside at that point several years ago when they went. So I emailed them just to ask and find out. This
Right.
was the week before, whenever we were going. So I emailed them to ask if they still had smoking inside. I didn't know if that had changed. And honestly, that's something I would never have even considered.
No.
Because even before we moved to Australia, it was outlawed in North Carolina inside buildings.
Yeah.
It had been for a while. And so it just didn't even occur to me that you would still be able to smoke inside of a location like that.
It seems crazy.
Like, I can understand having a smoking area outside
Sure.
or something, but inside, it just, didn't even occur to me. So I was glad that our friend said something about that. And so I emailed them and asked, and they said, oh, well, we have a non-smoking area inside, which works, as well as those restaurants in the 80s did, where there's that invisible
Yeah.
wall of smoking table next to non-smoking table. And, that smoke doesn't cross that line. Of course not. It doesn't work.
It's polite.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah. It's, if you have smoking inside, it's a smoking venue. And so we kind of set the expectation that we'll see what it's like, but if anybody's super uncomfortable at any point, we can pull the pin and go back to a hotel.
Yes.
And especially with her being asthmatic and whatever, it was just like, let's just see how it goes, and then we'll play it by ear. Because we did want to go and check out the club and see what it was like, see what the people were like, the venue, the vibe, all of that. Do you want to talk about arriving?
Sure. So we got there and got in. They've got a little sort of vestibule entry area where you. Number one, I'm impressed with the amount of security.
Yeah.
Both impressed, and that's also sort of a. Well, this is a sign of the times, isn't it? We're so unused to that.
It's true.
They've got security. Paid our way and go in, and the first thing I thought upon stepping in is, holy shit, this place is huge.
It was huge, yeah.
Like, you walk into this bar that is the size, that's bigger than most of the bars that we go to.
Oh, for sure.
For drinking in Sydney. Like,
Yeah.
the bar itself was huge.
Yeah, so it was basically a big room. There were lots of tables. There was a non-smoking section. Didn't matter. But there were lots of tables kind of set up throughout the room, and then on the one side, as you're walking in, on the left side of the room, there was a big dance floor. There were a couple of poles that people could get up onto. And then across the back wall was this huge, long bar.
Yeah, and then there was also, I think, booths set up.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole thing was kind of amazing.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been a smoking space, it would have been great.
Yeah.
But
did kind of hit me, though, when we walked in. There's just this wall, and you're like,
woof.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. There was a lot of people sitting at tables.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't seem to be a lot of interaction talking to people, but maybe they were. And
I think that came later.
It's hard to tell.
Because every time when I would go get a drink or something,
Yeah.
I would see there was some interaction between people. But I think a lot of the interaction came not from sitting at the tables, but on the dance floor when people would get up and
Gotcha.
and
It had a
dance
very
and mingle,
clubby
and
feel,
it
which
did.
is nice.
Yeah.
So you walk in, and then we went around the corner to around, I guess, through all the tables, around the dance floor. There was a little, I think a couple of steps down, and then a sort of a seating area. And then off of that seating area was a hallway to a bathroom, which had a glass window into a room, sort of a voyeur's room. Couple little playrooms, and then a BDSM room, and then this grand staircase kind of going up to the second floor, which again was a lot of open areas.
Yeah.
A few little offshoot rooms, but most of it was big open areas.
Yeah, and all of these big open areas had leather couches, leather chairs, like the big comfy leather ones. And it was basically that furniture all throughout the club.
Yeah.
So there were no beds.
Which is odd, but I think it's a city ordinance.
Is it? I say it's also easy cleanup, I suppose, because they did have paper towels and sanitizer in every area, so you could wipe everything down. But yeah, so I did think that was odd that there were no beds, and it very well could be a city ordinance thing. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
Yes, but there were big comfy couches, chairs, love seats, all of that kind of in every sitting area in different configurations. A few spaces had bars, like short little bars, like, you would serve drinks from behind.
Yeah.
And I did ask about that as we were leaving, if those are ever used. I didn't know if they did big party nights or anything where, they might have multiple bars being used. And the lady said, no, that's basically just for play. So if you've ever had a fantasy of, like, fucking on the bar, it could be great for that,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. my fantasy of the bar, my bar wench fantasy.
Yeah. So yeah, there were a lot of different play areas. The BDSM room was pretty nice. They had a
Couple of St. Andrew's crosses. It was, I was
they
surprised.
had a chase there.
Yeah, I was surprised at how well appointed the place was.
Yeah.
And again, how big it was.
It was huge. It was
I think you
ginormous.
could have fit 5 or 6 Our Secret spots inside this location.
Oh, easy, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
really the only negative I can come up with is the lack of beds.
Yeah.
But again, if that's something that they had to abide by a city rule, then you can't really fault them for that.
Yeah.
Another thing that I noticed was I didn't see any lube or
No.
condoms.
I didn't either. We all brought our own.
Yeah.
Hashtag professional swingers.
Right, I know, right?
But we did bring our own, and I did not see either. I only saw the paper towels and the sanitizer.
Yeah, which I think is that's a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
Because you want to see a place like this really support sexual health. And I think that swingers get a bad name already as being dirty swingers. And that was disappointing. I'd like to see condoms, bowls of condoms.
I was going to say,
even if people don't use them, they should be there for people who want to use them.
Yeah. And as a visual cue that maybe you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they were there, it was not obvious whatsoever because none of the six of us saw that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they were there. I only saw the paper towels and the sanitizer was all.
Yeah.
Which is, sanitizer does not make lube, by the way.
Oh, God, no.
Don't use it.
Fortunately, we didn't figure that one out. We didn't test that, but we know it. We just know it.
Just don't do that. Yeah, so we found a space to play, it was a pretty private room.
Yeah.
It had a couch, a chair, and then one of those big round...
Circle round chairs.
Yeah, big circle round chairs, which was cloth. It was one of the few things that was not leather. But fortunately, one of the couples had the foresight to bring some towels from their hotel room. So we put the towels down on top of the cloth because I'm going to guess that doesn't get cleaned very frequently or very easily. So that was lovely. But we did find this nice room that we could go. We could close the door. It was one of the voyeur rooms, so it had we could open the curtain if we wanted people to look in. Yeah. But we had the curtain closed. What was nice about that room, also not... I mean, it was nice and it wasn't nice, but it was very drafty.
Yeah.
It had some very open spaces to outside, which was good because then it kind of filtered a lot of the smoke out.
Yes. But again, it's March in Nashville, so it was a bit chilly that night.
It was very cold that night. That room actually wasn't too bad until later.
Yeah.
While we were playing, it was actually pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
It was cool, but it was also really nice to have that room that did it was a little more airy and more ventilated, because every time one of us would go to the bathroom and you would open up the door to the main building, it was just like, holy crap, that wall of smoke hit you.
Yeah, it really was.
And yeah, it was. So yeah, I was happy that we found a space to play that wasn't so bad. If we hadn't found that, I don't think we would have stayed probably.
Yeah, I think we could have done it upstairs and it'd have been fine.
Maybe.
Because there was a couple of rooms up there that I liked.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all right.
To me, that's the big negative, is that it was hard to breathe, and I'm and then everything smells and tastes like smoke, and I don't want that.
Agreed.
But yeah, so we found this lovely space, and it was good because it was more ventilated, and it had just the right amount of space that we needed for 6 people to play with, so we could kind of pile on the little round chair a little bit, and I think there was some oral action over on the
sofa.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun. So one of the guys is bi and one of the guys is straight. Mm-hmm. And so I was very much being one, attracted to the guy, and 2, not being starved for touch for so long. I basically pounced on the poor fella. But it's interesting because it was...
I didn't hear him complaining.
No, I don't think so, because I didn't let him get a word in edgewise. But it's funny because, like, one of my things I would really like to do is when somebody's sitting on a couch to straddle them. Mm-hmm. For me, I don't know, that's a position that I like because it's a dominant position, but it's also kind of not dominant, if that makes sense. So that was fun. I straddled him for a while.
It's still a bit snuggly and close. And,
it's really intimate, but it's also a dominant position, which for me is rare.
Yeah.
But girl.